The following is a presentation of the Missouri Sports Network.
Well, hello out there to the viewers. Thanks for joining us. This is On Deck with DeRo and Arch. I am Eric DeRosset. Alongside of me is Darren Archer. Hey, we're just going to get right to it today, Darren. There's a lot going on, and I think there's a lot of things we can discuss. And I'm going to go a little broader to start with. Obviously, the focus of this show is Missouri colleges and universities and those kind of things, but I think there was enough going on in the world of sports this week outside of Missouri that I think I may hit on a few of those and get a little feedback from you. And so with that being said, I'm just going to go for it here and chime in whenever you feel like it.
Let's do it.
First thing, Alabama football has now lost 2 out of the last 3 weekends. That just doesn't happen in Alabama football. So what are your thoughts there?
Very Alabama-like.
For sure.
And I heard something. I watched the game this weekend that they played. The last time that they've had a start like this was ironically Nick Saban's very first year at Alabama. So, I think there's a new system in place, new voices, so to speak, and a mixture of new guys and old school guys that were with Saban. And it's probably going to take a little time. Now, whether or not the faithful at Alabama will give that time, that remains to be seen. But I'll tell you what, and I know we're going to talk football in a different segment, but it bodes awfully well for Mizzou. Headed that way this weekend, and hopefully you can kind of catch Alabama, scrambling a little bit, trying to figure out their identity. And I think that's the biggest thing is you've got a lot of skilled players on both sides of the football that are trying to find their identity within the scheme of things, so to speak, in Alabama. Now, once they do, they're going to be awfully good. I mean, you take a look at the first half that they had against Georgia, and I'm thinking, holy cow, this team, nobody's touching them. Yeah. But then you look at the second half they played against Georgia, and you're thinking, ooh, here's the harsh reality. And let's face it, they played a tough schedule at this point. Call a spade. You're not going to have any days off in the SEC. So, I kind of like Mizzou's chances. They're ripe for the picking right now.
Yeah, and we'll hit on it later, like you mentioned. But even Mizzou, it sort of feels like now Brady Cook. Now he made it his team this week offensively, but even with that, it feels like maybe they're trying to find some offensive identity a little bit in a way, continuity at least. Maybe that's a better word. So for them to take that and go to Alabama and those two teams both trying to figure things out a little bit should make for a great matchup this week. And you and I will dive into that a little bit later for sure. WNBA. I've read this a couple places, so hopefully I'm giving you right information. Lost $40 million this year. It sounds like that the players' union is opting out of their collective bargaining agreement. There's TV money coming, lots of it, but it's not there yet. So essentially, there's a little bit of a threat of a strike or lockout, however you want to look at that, for money that's not there yet. Which is a different concept than usually the lockout strike scenarios in professional sports.
Yeah, it's hard to believe the WNBA lost 40 million, uh, even with the Caitlin Clark effect.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I understand that there's a lot of revenue sharing between teams and stuff like that. And uh, but my goodness, uh, the state of Indiana, where I'm originally from, and I have family back there, the economy alone in Indianapolis during this time of year, this is kind of a dead period for Indiana. Football's generally not very well thought of at this point in time of year. Another point we'll talk about, but uh, Caitlin Clark had a tremendous effect, and I can see why the 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 collective bargaining agreement, the players association, they want to step out of that, opt out of it, because I think they see the potential of money being able to be generated by the rise in following this year. And I think it's just going to continue to grow. People are just now seeing what the WNBA is all about. So how do you lose 40 million? That to me is just mind boggling. Um, you had a great final final series between very major market team
Yeah.
in the Liberty and upstart team with the Lynx, and um, very, very interesting that I did not know that they lost 40 million.
Well, and it seems that the Caitlin Clark effect. Well, let me back up. It shows you the value of the television contracts, because they're operating on a pre-contract, that was prior to Caitlin. The new contract was essentially negotiated with her in the mix. So, the money's coming. It's just interesting that everybody's kind of fighting for a piece of the pie, and certainly they should do that.
Sure.
They're entitled to that, but it's just interesting that they're that's on the horizon for money that's not quite there yet. So a little different concept in terms of professional sports there. Moving along, and we may spend a little time on this as well. It appears that the days of the national letter of intent, those days are gone, by that name at least. Uh, so national letter of intent is sort of being replaced with this NIL movement, whereas players are essentially free agents, so to speak, and they negotiate their own price and terms, and so just to a residual effect of changes, obviously, with the NIL, but you know, you and I as purists, if you will, we kind of like the concept of the national letter of intent, and those decisions that are made in that period in April, and all those kind of things. So different days ahead for college athletics.
Absolutely. And what they're calling it now is a financial agreement. And to the best of that I can understand the wording of it, I think there's still a few things to be figured out by some of the different committees with the NCAA. But what they're going to do is you, as a player, you sign a financial agreement with the university, and that kind of leaves it open ended, DeRo, from what we are used to from the past. A financial agreement can mean a lot of things to a lot of different kids. Somebody on the D2 level, if you're getting a partial scholarship, you're signing an agreement stating that half of your tuition is going to be paid for. You're responsible for the other half. To whereas, in some of these major D1 programs, you're basically signing a contract for your pay for play, so to speak,
Yeah.
in during that year. And I think that this has really strayed away from the amateur status that the NCAA once carried. Basically, your last lone amateur uh, type of athletes at the high school level now. From then on, people are getting paid to play at that level, and that, in all rights concerned is considered a profession. So I think you got a quick glimpse of what a lot of people, or what some coaches are thinking about it, with the sudden resignation of Tony Bennett, or sudden retirement. Hey, here's a national championship winning coach, 2-time national coach of the year, has a contract through 2030. And I mean, hey, they're just waiting to build a statue of him outside of Virginia's Coliseum. And he's like, hey, I'm 55 years old. I don't have to do this anymore. I can't fight these battles anymore. And I think, you've seen a group of older coaches, some of the mainstays, Krzyzewski, some people along those lines, but now you're starting to see some of those younger coaches saying, hey, I'm just not going to battle this. You're basically recruiting year round to save your own team.
Yeah.
Now think about that. You're recruiting to save your own team, plus go out and recruit people to fill in those that have moved on.
Yeah, it's a crazy dynamic, and a couple of things that I'll speak to. We all have our opinion about the NCAA and their governing, sort of the way they handle things. To their credit, I don't think they saw this coming, nor do I think they should have been able to see all of this coming. I think they were truly, in my opinion, trying to do what was right for student athletes, and reward them for the things that they were doing, and their image and their name. And so I do think they were their heart was in the right spot with that. They were going to share the money, essentially. But I do think the NCAA is getting a sort of a bad, rap from people saying, well, they should have anticipated this, and they've let this get out of hand. And I just don't know that anybody saw this coming to this magnitude. That's my first point.
Yeah, and I'm gonna step on your toes. I don't mean to, but here for a second. But I don't think the NCAA was so willing to pay money for that name, image, and likeness. This is something that went before the federal courts. They were told,
right,
hey, you're going to dole out some of that billions and trillions of dollars that you're making every year. And
the O'Bannon case.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, it dates back to, back days we were in high school and college. That this has been working toward this. I think at that point, the NCAA lost a lot of its power, number one.
Right.
I mean, when you have conference commissioners that are more powerful than the president of the NCAA, and you have players that could basically, and are even talking about unionizing, now you're talking collective bargaining. Now you're talking, it's not a financial agreement, it's a contract for labor, and agreeing to different terms outside of, how do you travel to games? What kind of hotel are you staying in? It's really gotten out of hand. It's the wild, wild west. And, I know I've said that several times before, but it's tough to really, I'm really having a hard time accepting it as an old school, and I get it. Change has to occur for things to grow, but I think this thing's grown into a monster.
Yeah.
And now with the NCAA losing the control or power that they have, which I think at one point they had way too much power. Now they don't have any. It's the inmates are running the asylum. So there's got to be some type of reining in, and it's one of those deals where the rich just keep getting richer. Hey, your Big Five conferences are now close to mega conferences.
Yeah,
I mean they hold all of the keys: TV, financial packages, advertising, all of that, and we're talking billions and billions of dollars. It's going to be interesting to see how things continue to shake out.
Yeah, and I've touched on this point that I'm getting ready to make on this show before, but one of the draws to me was growing up and even in my adult years was I enjoyed sort of falling in love with a team
Sure.
and watching those, that group of players over a 3 or 4 year time span. And then some of those pieces would be replaced with new guys that I would sort of follow. And, growing up, I was a big MU basketball fan. So starting with, Steve Stepanovich and John Sumvold and Ricky Frazier, that was kind of the first team or group of players. And sort of, that moves on to an Anthony Peeler and a Doug Smith and Javon Crudup. And so, I just don't know that those things are the same as what they used to be. And for guys like you and I, that's a little tough for us to figure out what that looks like. And so I'm not saying it was all good in those days, but I was a Big 8 basketball fan, and I can, Wayman Tisdale at Oklahoma, and I could name players from every Big 8 school in that era, and those guys were there 3 and 4 years. So this, I was also going to mention, the coaches that are stepping aside or retiring. I saw where Tony Bennett took a little criticism as well. I think partially for the timing that he announced the decision, but for me, it goes with what you said. Like I think he just got to the point where all those exterior things took away from the joy of coaching for him. And hey, he never said it in those terms, but I'm thinking like a coach, and certainly haven't coached at that level, but have coached enough to know that for me, the joy in coaching is preparing a team and competing and trying to get your team to reach their ceiling. And I just think there was a lot of things that are getting in the way of that for your older coaches. For them, it's still about preparing your teams and trying to be competitive rather than taking on this sort of CEO role that's necessary nowadays. So I'm a Coach Bennett fan. I think he did great things there. He had his own style of play, and the kids bought in, and they were highly successful there. And like you say, uh, put that program back on the map, so to speak, in a national scene. So anyway, lots there to unpack in terms of college athletics and NIL and all those kinds of things. The last thing I want to hit on before we go to break is new college football poll out today. New number one, the Oregon Ducks are number one, Georgia's 2, Penn State's 3, Texas drops to 5 after their loss. One team I'm going to mention here is Miami University, coming in at 6th ranked team in the nation. They're 7-0. Hey, and this is not Jimmy Johnson or Bernie Kosar or Vinny Testaverde. Like this is a program 25 years or so removed from that. So it'll be fun to watch Miami as they proceed on. Hey, and I'm going to set you up here, Coach Archer. Indiana. You already mentioned in this show that you hail from Indiana. They are the 13th ranked football team in the nation. What do you got for me there?
Buddy, I'm going to church this Sunday because the end is near. I'm just, you see that and you think, okay, basketball rankings, what already? What? No, Hey, they're for real. I mean, you take a look at what they did to Nebraska this weekend. Holy cow, I didn't see that coming. But I did have the chance to watch and talk to some friends back home, and they said, hey, this guy, Signetti, I think is his name, had a lot of great success. And it's kind of funny when he was introduced, it was like, hey, why did IU hire you? And he said, because I win everywhere I go. Google it. So the big thing now is Google it.
Right.
Back in Indiana, but it's neat to see their success, and they should have a good basketball team again this year with a lot of good recruits. So happy for them. I'm still a Mizzou fan at heart. This is home now. So, but happy for my past home.
Absolutely. Well, we just thought we'd sort of discuss a few national things when we come back from the break. We're going to kind of focus, draw it in a little bit, focus on some in-state athletics. When we come back, we'll focus on some volleyball and college soccer and some things like that. And then tonight we're going to finish with football, college football. It is on fire right now, even inside of the state of Missouri. So stick around and join us for the next segment, and then we'll finish the evening with football. And we'll be back after these messages. We appreciate you joining us.
Hi, I'll have the avocado toast minus the avocado.
So, toast.
Yeah. Everything is so expensive these days. Hey, Chevy gets it. That's why they're keeping prices down to earth, like on the most affordable EV in America. A super strong and capable Chevy truck. And a high-tech Chevy SUV. Why is Chevy making affordable vehicles connected by OnStar? It's so together, we can do more.
Imagine a bank that goes where you go, creating seamless solutions for every step in your financial journey, allowing you to manage your money the way you want to, with a banking relationship that makes every day extraordinary. Imagine a world full of possibilities, always within reach. Central Bank. We do banking better.
And welcome back. Thanks for joining us. We do this every week, but we do want to thank you, the viewer, for checking us out and watching our show. I'll say this again: we don't feel like it's our show; we feel like it's a show we get to share with you. So thanks for joining us. Any feedback or any stories that you think might be noteworthy for us, we would love to chase those and give those things some attention that's due there. So again, thanks, and check us out on Facebook and Twitter and all those platforms. Darren will probably mention those things later on at the end of the show, but this truly is a shared show with you, the viewer. So thanks. College volleyball inside the state of Missouri. I'll hit a few high points, and Darren, I might let you kick in here a little bit. Evangel volleyball, 18-4. They did lose a couple this week. Both of those matches they lost were to ranked teams, Oklahoma Wesleyan and McPherson, but they are still 18-4. Both of those are conference opponents, so it sounds like the volleyball is pretty good in the KCAC for sure. On the Division I level, I mentioned Mizzou. They're 13-5. They beat Mississippi State this week. I think they've got Arkansas and Oklahoma coming up. So again, no night off in the SEC, but hey, good job, Missouri volleyball, 13-5. Congratulations to them. NAIA volleyball, Central Methodist, still rolling right along. I think they're at the 20 win mark at this point. Just playing really, really well. I think their conference tournament will start somewhere around November the 9th, which really isn't all that far away. So their postseason's right around the corner. In terms of Division III, Washington University volleyball is 21-4. They actually traveled to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania this weekend for two matches that are actually conference matches in the UAA. So good luck to them as they continue to play well. Darren, I'm going to let you chime in on some volleyball news.
Absolutely. And you talked about WashU. They're currently number 8 in the nation in the latest NCAA Division III volleyball polls. And then we have a couple of junior colleges that are having very good years at the D1 level in national NJCAA, D1 level. Missouri State University at West Plains is currently ranked 11. And also at the D1 level, Mineral Area is number 17. And those two played each other over the weekend with Missouri State University West Plains coming away with a 3-0 set win. Just a few conference standings as we go through. I have some Division I and Division II conference standings from around the state. You spoke to Mizzou having a very good year. They're 14-4 overall, and they are currently tied third in the SEC. So very solid season, as you mentioned. In the Missouri Valley Conference, the lone representative from the state is Missouri State. They are 8-13 overall, 2-7 in the conference, and they are tied for ninth in the conference. In the A10, Atlantic 10 Conference, St. Louis University is currently in the eighth spot. They're 8-13 overall, 3-6 in conference. In the Ohio Valley, this is a very interesting point. We have two representatives from the state of Missouri, Lindenwood, who currently sits atop of the standings. They are 14-7 overall and 8-1 in league play. And Southeast Missouri State University, they are second in the rankings, or I'm sorry, second in the standings right now in the Ohio Valley Conference with a 6-1 record. The always tough MIAA. Lots of good volleyball being played up and down that conference. And Missouri Western, we've kind of spoke to them a little bit in the past week or two. They currently sit at 16-4, and they are number 3 in the standings in the MIAA. Northwest Missouri State, who's quietly having a very good year, is 12-7 overall. They are 6th in the MIAA. Central Missouri is 9th in the standings, and Missouri Southern is 11th in the standings. And then I'd be remiss if I didn't mention UMSL, nationally ranked team. They are currently 15-3 overall, and they sit third in the current standings in the Great Lakes Valley Conference, but they still have some games to play to be able to catch up to that leader. So they're a couple games behind, I think, in conference play. But that pretty much wraps up volleyball from around the state, women's volleyball from around the state for this week.
Yeah. We'll reference soccer a little bit here. I noticed that Missouri Valley men continue to roll, and their women are actually playing really well too. Both those programs are playing really well, and so congratulations to Coach Simich, who we visited with 2 weeks ago, in regards to his men's success, and then obviously he had a lot to do with the establishment of the women's program there. So congratulations, Coach Simich, if you're checking us out today, and keep on rolling, man. We're excited to watch you. Other soccer news, Darren, anything to share there?
Yeah, I got some national rankings on both the men's and women's side. On the men's side, NCAA Division I, Missouri State University, ranked number 12. They are having a very solid, very good season, as they normally do. Very well-established program, and good things happening in Springfield. In the NAIA men's national soccer rankings, as you previously mentioned, Missouri Valley is ranked number 7. Columbia is number 16. Central Methodist comes in at 22, and William Woods is receiving votes. So the NAIA level is very well represented by teams throughout the state. And at the JUCO level, in Division II men's national soccer rankings, Mineral Area comes in at number 13.
Yeah.
On the women's side, NCAA Division I, St. Louis University, who we highlighted some early in our earlier shows, they come in at number 34. Division II level, Maryville is number 12. Drury, number 17. Missouri Western, who's having a very good year in the MIAA, is at number 20, and Central Missouri is number 25. Here's the big one. NCAA Division III women's soccer national rankings. Washington University is the top ranked team in the nation, and they have been, I think, throughout the entire season. Very good soccer program. I think they made it to the Final Four in D3 last year. They are continuing where they left off. And at the NAI level, Central Methodist is number 7, Columbia number 10, and Missouri Valley number 20. And those are our state representatives on the women's soccer national rankings.
You know, one of the things we try to do on this show is to sort of highlight some programs or coaches and athletes that don't get a lot of recognition. At Washington University, volleyball and soccer, I mean, just year in and year out, really, really talented. They're on the national scene at their level for sure, year in and year out. So hopefully we've been able to bring them up enough that where the average viewer that doesn't keep up with either that level or that particular sport, you might be able to assign some relevance or some value to sort of keeping up with them, because certainly those programs deserve that. They have made a name for themselves, volleyball and soccer for sure. So a special shout out to what's going on there at Washington University.
DeRo, if you take a look at the fall national rankings in the D3 level, okay, Washington University is nationally ranked in football, volleyball, men's soccer, women's soccer, men's cross country, women's cross country. I'm not real sure there's any sports left to be ranked in that program in the fall.
Well, and we've mentioned this fact on this show before, is, I mean, just the academic demands that take place there. So those student athletes there are truly student athletes. So, hey, a shout out to Washington University. And if you're listening to us, Washington University, we're proud of you, and keep on doing what you're doing there. That's fantastic. So we're going to head to break here soon. When we come back, we are going to finish this show with college football. And there is a lot to dive into. It is really exciting right now. So one of the things that I've noticed is usually I feel like that as the season goes on, you get more clarity about how things are going to unfold in football. I don't know that that's the case this year. It seems like there's less clarity as time moves on. I feel like that's at all levels. So we're going to dive into that when we get back. So thanks for joining us, and we will be right back after these messages.
We believe banking should make your life greater. It starts with affordable options to meet today's needs and tomorrow's dreams. From smart account options that fit your style to flexible loans for what comes next. It means convenient ways to access and manage your money whenever you need it and wherever you're headed. Most of all, it takes great support. Someone you can count on for trusted guidance and to be there for you every step of the way. Great options, great convenience, great support for life. Great Southern Bank, understanding what really matters.
The Walnut Street Inn is located in the heart of Springfield on historic Walnut Street, just blocks away from the Missouri State Campus, Hammons Field, Great Southern Arena, and downtown Springfield. The Walnut Street Inn features newly remodeled rooms, breakfast served daily, and a friendly, accommodating staff. The Walnut Street Inn is also a great venue for private events. Book your stay or get more information at walnutstreetinn.com or call 417-864-6346.
And welcome back to On Deck with DeRo and Arch. It's been a great segment, or a great show so far. We've talked about a lot of things nationwide and even in the state of Missouri. So we are going to finish here with college football. Gosh, and it's hard to know where to start. There's so much going on. I'm going to start with some of the smaller colleges, universities in Missouri. Evangel, they continue to just do Evangel type things when it comes to their football program. They won again big over Bethany this past weekend. Got a big one this week. They play Friends University, who is, I believe, 7-0. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. Not only is that a huge conference game, but it is also a game that has national implications. So a big one for Evangel. I believe they're on the road with that one, yes, if I'm not mistaken. So Evangel, this will be a good test for them for sure. So excited to see how that comes around. Central Missouri State, they locked up with Northwest Missouri State, kind of your typical MIAA grudge match. Central Missouri came out on top this time. That pushes them to 4-3, I believe. Northwest Missouri State's 4-4. that MIAA is just loaded again. We talk about that all the time. Obviously, these are two schools that are outside of the state, but I believe Pittsburgh State and Central Oklahoma either play this week or next. So that will go a long ways in determining the MIAA conference winner, and again, national implications for both of those programs. Emporia State is right there with them, I believe, as well. So, one loss for either Pitt State or Central, and then all of a sudden Emporia gets in the picture. Interesting times in the MIAA, but it always is. It seems like SBU was off this past weekend, Southwest Baptist, and they will host William Jewell this weekend in an interesting in-state matchup. So that one's in Bolivar. So that'll be a fun matchup for both those schools. Avila, William Woods, and Missouri Baptist all came up on the short end this past weekend in NAI action. Let's move ahead. Let's go Division I, and this is where it gets kind of interesting, I think. Missouri State, they won again, 5 wins in a row. They're 5-2, and they play Northern Iowa next, who's 2-5. I believe Missouri State's now ranked 18th in the nation, if I'm not mistaken. So Missouri State doing good things. What do you think there, Darren?
They are definitely a team to watch on the national level. They have kind of found their stride, and they played 2. I know one's nationally ranked in Montana, but I think they played 2 nationally ranked teams for their 2 losses at the very beginning of the season. Started off the season 0-2, and they found their stride. It's just like with every other year, especially this time of year for football teams, where you just got to stay healthy, manage your energy, and put a lot of hours in the film room and preparation, and just get your team ready to go on Saturdays, and look for continued success out of that program.
Yeah, and I don't want to slight previous programs at Missouri State or previous players there, but it feels like this has maybe as much energy and excitement as maybe far back as the DeAndre Smith era. I mean, it's kind of has that feel where people that in Missouri State sort of has some name recognition right now, and people are really excited. So again, if you're in between this team and DeAndre Smith, I'm not slighting your contributions to the program whatsoever.
Right.
But it does have some energy maybe that it hasn't had for a long time. So congratulations to Missouri State. Southeast Missouri State, Cape Girardeau. Darren, you called this one from the beginning, so I'm just going to turn this one over to you.
Well, they're currently ranked number 6 in the nation, and have a dynamic quarterback who I think they may name their weekly Player of the Week award after, before it's all said and done. He wins it every weekend, seems like. So he's done a great job. But overall, they've done a good job. And that I'm not even sure, DeRo, what conference they in? Ohio Valley /
Big
something.
Yeah, Big South. I don't know.
They've combined with another conference, and they're kind of in the driver's seat. I feel like, and here again, going to sound like a broken record as long as they can stay healthy. They have a chance to really make some noise in postseason play.
Yeah. They actually play Gardner Webb this weekend. Gardner Webb is 2-5. So, I mean, in theory, if they play up to their potential, they win that one, and hey, all of a sudden they're one game closer to even more probably national prominence and recognition. So, man, good luck to them, and state of Missouri should be awfully proud of that football program. You mentioned their quarterback, and we don't have a lot of information on this, but he's got ties to Camdenton, Missouri. I think he played there in high school, and so it's always really cool when the local boy goes big, but he goes big in state. To the people in Camdenton who had a part in his success, what an awesome story for you guys at Camdenton. So good luck to SEMO as they proceed on. They're fun to watch in terms of kind of keeping up with them and you called it. They had an opening night on ESPN on a Thursday night way back sometime in mid-August, it seems like. And so ever since then, it seems like we've kind of been following them and checking them out. So good luck to them this week. Mizzou, as a coach, and again, please don't misunderstand me. I've never coached on that level, nor am I good enough to. Sometimes you just win ugly. Sometimes you just have teams that just are a little bit characterized by that. Vanderbilt game was ugly in that sense. This week was ugly as well with Auburn. You just kind of wonder if that's not kind of who they are to a degree. Maybe they have sort of that blue collar mentality, and they're not super flashy, but they just find a way to get things done. Brady Cook, man, coming back from a tough injury, and leadership. He showed up and showed out. I was highly impressed with Brady Cook this past Saturday.
Yeah, when I thought they were done, when Luther Burden fumbled that punt
Yes.
into the end zone, and they hop on it and go up, I believe 14. I said, "Ooh, no Brady Cook."
Yeah.
Didn't like their odds at that point in time, but Cook comes out of the locker room and throws on that Superman cape and says, "Jump on, boys, we're going to go win this thing." And I agree. Now, I've watched Auburn play in the past. They played Georgia very, very close. Actually had Georgia beat. In all intents and purposes, had them beat. And they are really good at making you play ugly.
Yes.
They've got a very young defensive line that, man, here in a year or two, they're going to be a load. They already are. But their problem is on the offensive end, just not being able to, number one, take care of the ball, and number two, putting it in the end zone when they have opportunities. So, hey, the great thing about football is they don't give style points. A win is a win, and a loss is a loss. And I did see where Mizzou dropped one spot from 16 to 17 playing this week. They need to stay in that hunt. Now, this weekend will be to this date. Now, I don't want to say this is going to be the biggest game on their schedule, because that's going to be each week as we proceed throughout the year. But I really think that if they can go down and get another win, get a huge road win at Alabama, and it kind of, I think, bumps them back closer to that top 12 spot, to where they're knocking on the door for that, the new playoff format and those top 12 teams getting into the playoffs. And really, that's what they've got to play for. They've got to play for a shot to get in to it, the conference tournament, conference championship, and make that top 12. That's kind of what they've got to look for. And this weekend at Alabama would go a long ways in bumping them up those that ladder, so to speak.
And the term "must win" is probably one of the most overused terms in sports. However, it would seem that both Alabama and Mizzou would call this a must-win game for different reasons. Alabama probably views this as a must-win to sort of keep the wheels from coming off, so to speak, in Alabama terms.
Correct.
And so they need to win this one to kind of get things calmed down in Alabama and get back on track. The must-win side of it for Mizzou is, I think it throws them right back into that national prominence, top 12 category that you're referencing there. So really big one for both schools this weekend in Alabama. How much better would you like that if that was in Columbia, Missouri this week?
Much. But hey, you got to play them. And I think that would be a great confidence booster. Last time they went on the road and played a top 25 team in Texas A&M, and I think we're starting to see how good Texas A&M is. They're for real. They're undefeated in SEC play, and They've still got some tough games ahead of them, but they're kind of sitting in the driver's seat. It's funny. Them and LSU both lost their very first game of the season, and they sit atop the SEC. So it'll be interesting to see how all that shakes out. But I think this would be a huge confidence boost to be able to go down to Alabama and get a win. I think for coaching staff, players, community, at the university, I think it legitimizes, no matter how good or down Alabama may be, it's still Alabama. And you go down there and win, it's justifiable, no matter how you look at it.
Well, and if you think bigger than just this week, if they beat Alabama on the road, then they've got Oklahoma the week after. And that's always been, that Oklahoma game's in any sport, but that's always a tough matchup for Mizzou. So if you have to think that a road win at Alabama gives them a new level of confidence at OU or with OU that they probably haven't had in a really long time, or maybe ever, when it comes to football, just because of OU's rich football tradition.
Sure, and OU's kind of in the same boat as Alabama. Yeah. I mean, they took it on the chin this weekend, and there's just an opportunity there to seize some momentum and huge conference wins. Be an interesting weekend ahead. I'm looking forward to watching that game.
Absolutely. It feels like I say every week, man, I can't wait for this week in college football. This is going to be the best weekend yet. And then I turn around and I say that the next weekend, and
exactly.
And the cycle repeats itself. So really excited. I'm just so happy for Mizzou and their fan base, just to have this level of success. They're landing recruits left and right, and they're in the mix for these recruits that typically go, other places, Alabama and Georgia and places like that. And now all of a sudden Mizzou's in the hunt for some of those. And so, a win this week at Alabama, Mizzou faithful. I don't know how much better it would get than that, to this point, at least. So, well, I think we have hit Missouri football, colleges and universities, with all the information I've got. Do you have anything to add for us today, Darren?
No, just nothing other than, hey, be sure to follow us on Twitter at Missouri_sports and at DeRo_on deck. Be sure to visit Missouri Sports Network Facebook page and YouTube channel. And we also have a website where you can find all of the college scores, volleyball, football, daily scores at MissouriSportsNetwork.com. We certainly do appreciate you tuning in. And as always, DeRo, great show, buddy.
Yeah, it's been fun. This is a great time of year, and we say that every week. It just seems like it just keeps getting better and better. But I do want to mention this again, just how blessed we are in the state of Missouri. You just mentioned ranked team after ranked team, or program after program that is always in the national scene. Division III, Division I, like it doesn't matter. It seems like Missouri's well represented. So, just a shout out from Arch and I to all those Missouri colleges and university. Keep up the great work. It is fun to follow you, and hopefully we're spreading your story a little bit and getting your name out there. So thanks for being a part of it with us. For Darren Archer, I am Eric DeRosset, and we're signing off for today. We will see you next week here on Deck with DeRo and Arch.
This has been a presentation of the Missouri Sports Network. Thank you for tuning in.